Welcome back to another edition of Real Recognize Real. I'm your host, Cottrell Simpson, College Cottrells. Most of you guys know me from Wire to Wire Sports Podcast and Coast to Coast College Football Tailgate. And today we're going to be covering a guy who's really been rising on a lot of draft boards since the end of the regular season, and that's Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback out there from Toledo. So really just want to get right into it here with Quinyon. So kid that played at Toledo, where Toledo was a team that only lost one game during the entire regular season, and Quinyon was a big part of that. Was able to be a shutdown corner for most of the year, and he really started to gain some more attention after his visit down there to Mobile and being able to perform at the Senior Bowl with a lot of those high level talented receivers that we saw run crazy times at the combine or just crazy touted, prospects in this very loaded receiver class. So, just really ready to get right into it here. I'll start out with going through the pros and cons with Quinyon's game from what I saw on film. And the pros, first thing that I want to note is that he's very, very smart and he's a very disciplined player. He has great IQ. He plays the game like he's a vet. In the running game, if there's a run going to his side, he's making sure he keeps contained, not letting anything get past him. And on the flip side of things is that if the play is running away from, if it's the play is going away from him, he does a good job of still maintaining, the BCR and just being there in case the play does cut back, over to his side. So very smart there. And then in the pass game, he just does his job. He's consistently a guy who's doing everything that's asked of him. And, you very rarely see him make mental errors in coverage, especially in man coverage. Another thing that I want to make note of is that is his instincts. He does a great job of just seeing what's going on with his eyes and then reacting to it. He can see a quarterback getting their drop back. And once they start that hitch, he's going to be all over breaking on the receiver that's in front of him, just in case that ball is going over to him. Now, as far as his coverage goes, he comes from a system where Toledo ran a lot of zone coverage. And so I've been seeing a lot of different reports about Quinyon talking about how he's great in zone coverage. Well, I actually somewhat disagree with that. Not saying that he's not great in zone coverage, but I actually think he's more of a man cover corner. I understand that Toledo does run a lot of zone, but if you actually watch the film, a lot of his responsibilities, he's manned up with receivers and they're really expecting him to just take away what that option is that's lined up in front of him. Another thing that I really like about him is that his versatility. This is a guy who, again, is going to make his money on the outside, but in certain formations and things like that, if you have a guy that goes down, he could potentially go and play on the inside and play in the slot at times. And what I saw on film is that when he's in that spot, this is a situation where he's usually in off man coverage, probably like 8 to 10 yards off the ball, but he's comfortable being there. And again, he's a guy that can do his job. And I think the reason why he's comfortable being there is his footwork and just his transition, everything. And that's the last pro that I do want to highlight here. He has great hips and great fluidity in his turnover. And when I say turnover, I'm talking about when, if he's in off coverage and the receiver gets on him, where he can speed turn and just go and take that receiver vertical. He's very fluid there. He's never, there's no missteps with this kid. And he does everything pretty much the right way as far as his technique and his feet goes in that aspect. Now, on the flip side of things, do have a couple things that give me a little bit of cause of concern here. First big thing here is that while Quinyon's always doing his job, he's never really making that X play where it's a turnover that happens, or potentially jumping on a curl and getting out there in front of that and taking that to the house or anything like that. So while he does have some interceptions in his career, you could see that he's really playing to make sure the ball gets knocked out, things like that. He's not really a guy that's going to give you a lot of turnovers. So if you're looking for a corner that's going to do that, Quinyon might not be the guy for you. Another thing that I saw in film, he can tackle, but a lot of times he really looks like a lazy a lazy tackler. This is a guy who doesn't really break down in terms of tackling. I know you get a lot of corners that have that moniker on them, but with Quinyon, I think he has the ability to do it. He just looks lazy out there, likes to reach a lot as opposed to really, forming up a tackle and getting guys to the ground, things like that. So I think he can get better in that department. Now, this next part is probably just more so a preference as opposed to a true con. But what I saw, I don't really love his stance. He's rather high, in my opinion, and he has great footwork and has great hips, so it works for him. I just think looking at the film, to me, it looks like a lazy stance where he's really bent over from his back, really hunched over, and doesn't have that bend. But if that works for him, then so be it. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So I guess I'm okay with that. But I think that is something that teams will want to look at and potentially try and fix, just to have some consistency there and even potentially make his job even easier when breaking on routes and things like that. And then the last thing that gave me a little cause for concern is something that wasn't even really his fault. It's the lack of press coverage that Toledo really had him in. Now, it's not that he never pressed or anything like that. It's just that he didn't do it enough where if I'm a team that is in the league and I like to press and I think Quinyon is a great cover corner, I would just want to see him in a little bit more press situations just to see how he is in that situation and ultimately see how he would react to having to be a little bit more physical. Now, I didn't put it on the list here, but I think Quinyon is a guy who makes his money by not being physical. He's just right there to make a play when it gets up on a receiver. That'll be when he knocks the ball out. But again, with him not showing a lot of press and things like that, I don't really see that physical side of him, and I would like to see a little bit more of that. And that'll take me right into the comparison here. I think just looking at the film, he reminds me a lot of JC Horn. Now, some of you might be saying, well, JC Horn was pretty physical when he was down there at South Carolina. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to put a little asterisk next to the JC Horn comparison. He's JC Horn, just a little less physical. But if you look at their, statistics here, they match up pretty evenly. JC Horn has an inch over Quinyon. Quinyon's at 6 foot, JC at 6'1". Weight department, 10 pounds there, really not a big deal. Both these guys are still freak athletes there, and I think Quinyon will be able to put on weight at that next level as well. So you see the 10-pound difference there. But then just looking at their other measurables, I mean, you look at the vertical, 38 inches, which is great. JC Horn jumping 41 and a half inches is absolutely insane. Freak athlete there. But what Quinyon is lacking in comparison in terms of the vertical, you see he's making up that and then some in the speed department with that 4.33 that he ran at the combine compared to JC Horn's 4.4 flat. So I think these guys are very similar. And if you see Quinyon go to a place that runs a lot of man coverage, I think a lot of people will see and will note that he's a guy that can play man. He was just stuck in this zone coverage system. But even with that said, I was able to pull a lot of film of Quinyon playing some zone, playing some man, and really just breaking that all down for you guys. So again, without further ado here, I want to just jump right on over to our first game here. And that game is going to be against Eastern Michigan from the 2023 season. So with Quinyon here, we'll start. We have a few plays where, you'll see him reading and reacting and different things like that. You'll also be able to see on film some of those tackle situations that I was kind of alluding to earlier where, I feel like he could just potentially grow a little bit in that department. But we'll start here, early in the game against Eastern Michigan. This will be a play where you see Quinyon really starting to read and react to the play. So we'll get this started up here for you. You'll see Quinyon down at the bottom of the screen here. He's matched up on the receiver here, about 10 yards off the ball. And you'll see him just make a great break and actually gets an interception. I know I talked a lot about it not being him not being a guy to really make those type of plays, but this was actually one of the times where he was able to actually turn the ball over and get the ball back for that Toledo team. So we'll watch it again here from the end zone view. You'll see Quinyon make a play on the football here. Receiver goes in motion, and you'll see quarterback drops back, stares it down. Quinyon's right there, makes a play. Great instincts there on display for Quinyon. Um, and now, just moving on a little bit later in this game, you're going to be able to see more of the IQ that I was referring to with Quinyon and just how smart he is as a whole as a football player. So let me go ahead and get this pulled back up here for you guys. Boom. So sorry for the little bit of delay there on the film, but you will see Quinyon down there at the bottom of the screen here. Looks like there's a zone coverage, but you see the receiver switch off here, and he's pretty fluid in switching off and going over to a different receiver. A lot of times that play is designed to beat a man coverage situation. So I'll just go back a little bit here, play it over again for you guys where you're able to see. So Quinyon's down there at the bottom. He has this receiver right here, and the receiver and the other receiver, they do a little switch here designed to potentially create some confusion and, get one of these guys open. They switch it off beautifully, and Quinyon is there. He's all over it, and quarterback really has no option but to scramble and ultimately be a, negative play for the offense. So great work there by Quinyon. Now I'll move on just a little bit later on in this game where you'll see an example of some man coverage here from Quinyon. So in this play here, he's lined up down here at the bottom of the screen. We'll see the man coverage here. I mean, that's just great work from Quinyon, carrying the guy vertical. Quarterback never had a chance to get him the ball in that situation. So I do want to replay it just one more time. I'll go back from the above camera angle just to make sure we're able to see what that route looks like. So he has the receiver vertical here. He's letting him go with the outside release because he has the speed to make up for any route that he runs vertical. He doesn't want to give up anything towards the middle of the field because he has no help in that area, and he knows he has the sideline over here as his friend. So again, just great IQ from Quinyon here, and great coverage, great technique, and everything like that. So he opens up, he's ready to roll. Receiver tries to go vertical on him, and with Quinyon's speed, absolutely no chance for the ball to get over there to him in that situation. So great rep there by Quinyon. Moving on here, we got another man coverage play where, Quinyon is exactly where he needs to be in that situation. So looking at the snap here, he's at the bottom of the screen, and the quarterback actually hitches. This is supposed to be like a double move route, and Quinyon does not bite for it. So the receiver, he makes his move. He makes a little stop. Quinyon doesn't go for it, and he's all over the receiver here. He's in a trail technique. I know it looks like the receiver broke open there, but if you saw at the end of it, Quinyon had a little speed burst in. If the quarterback would have decided to go to the receiver in that spot, that would have been a play where Quinyon would have had a chance to make a play on the ball. Now, you won't be able to really see it well from the end zone view, the start of that play, that double move, but you will be able to see the quarterback do the hitch where they would normally get a corner to bite on the first hitch for the double move. But in this case, Quinyon didn't bite, and, just a great rep from Quinyon in that situation. Now, moving on, same drive here, but just a few plays later, you're going to have Quinyon just, again, reading and reacting. And I know this was a Michigan State team, the Eastern Michigan team that wasn't that good. You saw the score. It's 28-0 in that first half here, but doesn't negate the fact of what Quinyon is doing and how coachable this kid is. Now you'll see bottom of the screen here looks like quarterback's going to the receiver here on a little curl route. Quinyon's all over it, and no chance that that play gets completed. So we'll look at that again here from the end zone view. Eastern Michigan quarterback takes the snap, knows right away he's going to the curl on the outside. Quinyon doesn't even give the receiver a chance to make a play on the ball. That's great work. You can't coach it up any better than that in this situation. So, um, again, just showing you what Quinyon can do and his versatility there. Now, just last play in from this game with Quinyon is just going to be another high level IQ play from the kid. So we're going to be moving on late in the second quarter here. Toledo clearly up big, and you'll see Quinyon bottom of the screen again. Another double move and never had a chance. Quinyon didn't even sniff of biting on that move. And I think a lot of corners in that spot, yes, you are up big there, but you kind of get greedy. He had the pass break up earlier on the curl route where he was pretty much just sitting on it. And so I think Eastern Michigan probably saw that and they wanted to try to dial up something where Quinyon could potentially bite on something, but just running it back here, you'll see the quarterback have a hitch towards the receiver here. A little pump fake to get it going. And he sees that Quinyon is locking that up. There's no bite there. Quinyon knows he doesn't have any help, and he's all over the receiver for that double move. That's just great work there by Quinyon, just being a true professional and fully understanding that he's in a spot where he doesn't need to go for any short routes or anything like that. He doesn't need to play aggressive in that spot. So, again, great work by Quinyon in that game. And again, that was a game where Toledo was really never in any trouble. But we are going to move on to the next game on the dock, and that's game later in the year against Miami of Ohio that actually ended up being the team that Toledo lost to in the MAC championship game. But this will be a regular season matchup between the Rockets and Miami of Ohio here. And we are going to start off at the 3:18 mark. So going there, first play from this game that we'll see is a play where Quinyon is reacting to the route. So you'll see there again, we'll start pretty early in this game here. You had Quinyon on the outside lined up on the receiver. Again, off coverage. That's where you see a lot of him at, probably about 10 yards off here. So quarterback sees that and it's a slant. And you would think that the receiver has space for it. Quinyon does a great job of closing the gap and just making a play on the receiver there. So you'll see it here from the end zone view. Again, quarterback's looking this way the entire time. Quinyon makes sure there is no window to fit this ball in. Putting in motion, reading the coverage, knows it's man-to-man on that side, throws the slant, never had a chance. Quinyon is all over that. That's great work. And again, just showing you what Quinyon's technique and what his skill set is. I mean, this is what you're going to be getting from this kid, all the time. And I absolutely love seeing that on film. Now, moving on later in this game to the 11-17 mark, we have some more man coverage here. And this is clearly in the red zone. It looks like they're on the 2-yard line. Quinyon's going to be up here at the top of the screen. Now, watch how he's able to follow this receiver everywhere he goes. Takes him all the way across the field. Makes a great play on the football. Again, receiver doesn't even have a chance to make a play on that football there. Great work from Quinyon. I'll just take it from the end zone view now. You'll see he carries him literally the entire way of the field. That is great coverage there. No shot that's pass interference. Great coverage. And again, even in that tight spot, carrying a receiver across the field, If receivers are switching or anything like that, Quinyon is smart enough to understand the situation and really just know what to expect at a lot of times. And I love seeing that from here. Now we'll go with the very next play for him on the field. So that play, that last series resulted in a field goal. We'll go to Miami of Ohio. This is Miami of Ohio's next drive. First play back on the field. And again, you'll see Quinyon top of the screen there and just in stride with that Miami receiver. Again, never had a chance to throw the ball at Quinyon here. And again, I know corner is probably a little bit weird seeing the film on just because this is a play where Quinyon doesn't even get the ball thrown at him, but I just thought it was a great rep from him. So he gets right into his turn here where he knows this receiver is having some sort of deep route just based on how aggressive he came off the ball and got into his route. So Quinyon is in phase with him, goes vertical with him, and again, there was no window there. I know Miami got a first down in this scenario. Quinyon is doing his job with that sticky man coverage there and just putting on display why, I feel like Quinyon's a guy that you could potentially leave on an island in the right system. And now we'll move on. Same drive, but just a few plays later here. 12-20 mark, more man coverage here. And again, Quinyon doesn't get the ball thrown his way here, but you see him in a good position. So I'll rewind it just a bit here. So he's in the middle of the field here. And this was again another thing that I noted on the pro side for him. This is a guy who can play on the inside at times. So I wouldn't have him lined up here all the time, but I mean he's damn near playing safety lined up on this inside receiver here. But look at how well he is and how comfortable he is in this coverage. So you'll see the kid from Miami of Ohio runs like a little drag route, but Quinyon's able to pretty much close that distance. I mean, he was about 13 yards off the ball. He was able to close that distance rather quickly here. Quinyon is smart as well. He knows he has some friends up here that's right in front of this here, so he doesn't have to be right up on him. And he carries him across the field. He had the threat of potentially going a little bit more vertical. Ball doesn't end up getting thrown his way, but again, just showing you the high IQ from a guy like Quinyon, knowing where his help is and just being great in coverage. Again, I'll show you another example here. Some more man coverage. Got just a few more clips from this game. Then we're going to be moving on to the last game, which is against Illinois here. But again, you'll see him lined up on the inside here, about 12 yards off of this receiver here. Again, I wouldn't have him playing here consistently, but if you need to in a time of need, or if you have two corners and you want him to be on the field, but at the same time, you want the long term outside relief with him, but you want to play your best players in that scenario. Quinyon's a guy that's more than capable of playing on some inside here. But you see on the inside receiver off coverage, closes the gap rather quickly. And this play ultimately results in, the quarterback going for a little scramble here. But the reason why the quarterback had to scramble was because Quinyon took away his first option. Normally you would look at that and say, hey, if this guy is 12 yards off the ball here, I know I have a little window, especially if I'm going here right off the snap. And so the quarterback, look, he's looking right at it. He's thinking that route is going to open up, but that's not the case. Quinyon closes on it so fast that the quarterback has to make a different decision, and that ultimately forces the quarterback to scramble. So just a play where, again, Quinyon showing you that he's versatile and he's a guy that's sticky in man coverage. Now, for as much praise as I've been giving him, this is an area on the film that gives me a little bit of concern. I know a lot of cornerbacks don't like the tackle here. It's not even for me just about not wanting to tackle. It's the effort put into the tackling for me. So you'll see Quinyon here, he's at the top of your screen on the outside. And Miami ran a lot of these stacked formations. I think they liked what they saw, when running these different formations. But this will be an example of a time where I think Quinyon's getting a little lazy here. So doesn't break down, lets this quarterback get outside of him. He's really just reaching with his arms to try and make a play. And I think Quinyon is a better player than this. This Miami quarterback is not a better athlete than what you are. And this is a play that you absolutely have to make. You're unblocked one-on-one with a quarterback at that. I need you to break down and make this tackle here. So you'll see it from the end zone view. It's a read option play. Quarterback keeps and gets right outside of Quinyon. He throws his arms out to try and make that play there, but that just seems like a lack of effort. No way you don't break down and get the quarterback there. And this was something that was, a trend on film with Quinyon here. But I'll show you one more example of Quinyon just reaching and not making the tackle that I feel like he was capable of making. And that's going to be at the 24:02 mark here. And this will be the last play from this Miami game. And then we got a few plays from the Illinois game. And outside of that, we'll get wrapped up with the Quinyon film here. But you'll see that Quinyon is outside up there, and ball goes to him. It's a little curl route, but he lets the receiver fight for about 5 extra yards here. And just to keep in mind and give you some perspective of this play, this is a play where Miami was on 3rd and I believe 19. And, you talk about Quinyon giving up the catch. I'm not personally upset about that at all, because you do want to keep the receiver in front of you. If they get 14 yards on a play where they need 19, I understand being smart there and just letting that play happen in front of you. So I'm not even mad about the catch itself. I'm mad about right now you're in a spot where, and I know the flag pole's in the way here, but you see Quinyon is really in a spot where the receiver's not even looking at him yet. All he has to do is, this is an easy go wrap him up form tackle. They take the 14-yard gain, but it's 4th and 5 now. And, you make them earn that yardage. But instead of that happening, you see he lets him get to the outside, doesn't bring any pads with him, just throws the arms out, reaches, grabs them, and throws them down. And it ends up being a 4th and 1 play that Miami actually ends up converting, and they go down and score a touchdown on that drive there. I just think that's a spot where Quinyon can definitely improve in terms of, him wrapping up in coverage and things like that. So just wanted to show you an example of that. Now, like I said before, we just have one more game here, and that one will pretty much fly by. We only got 4 plays from it. It is with Toledo versus Illinois, which was the only regular season game that they actually lost all season. And that was their first game of the season up there in Illinois. So go ahead and get the film rolling here. And we will take it late actually in this game. We're going to go to the 17-16 mark, where you see Quinyon just, again, reading and reacting. So let's see. It's so easy to find Quinyon too. I know the last couple games, we've seen the arrows. If you just look at Toledo, find the guy that's hunched over and you'll know it's Quinyon Mitchell. So no arrow needed here. You'll see between the corners here. Look at this guy hunched over. Looks a lot different from what his stance is. You see the bend at the knee there, but it works for Quinyon. So again, I won't hate on it, but we'll get the play rolling here. It looks like he's in a man coverage here. Gets right up on the receiver, reading and reacting. Again, I feel like a broken record with how many times I've been saying the same thing with Quinyon on film here. You'll see 10 yards off coverage here. quarterback is looking at this saying, if they're in man coverage, I know the underneath route has to be there because there's no way that this kid is breaking on, especially this kid from Toledo, is breaking on this Big Ten receiver as fast as he is. And quarterback goes there right away, 3-step drop, no shot. Quinyon is all over it. Again, just showing you the baller that he is. And I'm sick of hearing the narrative about, the level of competition that he played at. Let's not forget, we've seen so many dominant players come from some of these smaller schools. Just a few names that come to mind that are from the MAC. You got Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to go be a Hall of Famer. You got Khalil Mack, who's at Buffalo, who's, if he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, he's going to be damn close to it. You got Antonio Brown, who I know he's crazy as hell now, but super talented receiver from Central Michigan that came out and lit the league on fire. So I'm not here for the level of competition comments about him. You saw it at the Senior Bowl where you had guys from all over. You had Roman Wilson from Michigan and Lad McConkey and Tez Walker from North Carolina. Like, Quinyon is a guy that can do this at all levels. And that was a big part why I wanted to even show you the film from this game. And it's not many plays from this game that you're going to see because Illinois knew that Quinyon is a shutdown player, and they were smart about not targeting him during this game. But I'll go a couple plays later here. We'll see a little bit more man coverage from Quinyon. Top of the screen, they give you the arrow, Mr. Hunchback, where receiver gives him kind of a double move, like a fake in and going out, little pivot route there, but he's all over it. Again, you'll see it from the end zone view. Throw really never had a chance. I mean, that's great work from Quinyon with the versatility there. Now, again, I'll show you guys another clip of him playing on the inside where, you can just see that he's comfortable in doing that. Now, he's not fully, all the way on the inside there, but he has more ground to cover here. This is a tough spot to be in, especially knowing that you're not really having much help over top. So you'll see the route here. It looks like it's going to be a little drag route. Goes in, the pivot. Quinyon takes it away. No shot that ball was going to this receiver right here. Again, I personally don't care about the result of the play. We are just focusing on Quinyon in that scenario. So I'll go back, run it one more time. Just make sure you guys saw it. You'll see him playing on the inside here. It's really a double move. It goes in on the drag, hits the pivot, taken away. No shot the quarterback can make this play without Quinyon breaking that up. Now I'll just go on to the last play in this game before we wrap this thing up. Just another example of something that Quinyon needs to clean up with his tackling. So you will see here on film, again, super easy to spot here. Hunched over, it's pretty much standing straight up, but Quinyon up here, top of the screen, and I believe this is another run play. It's going straight to him. Now, Quinyon should know here that the sideline is going to be his friend. Even if you don't want to wrap this running back up because he's going downhill on you, you know that the sideline is your friend. And I think he needs to be he needs to be just a few yards up towards the sideline to be in position to make this play. He has a guy here for the cutback in case, the running back decides to cut back and not take the sideline route. But instead, what Quinyon does is what you've seen on film. He's going to try and reach and make that tackle, and the running back gets 3 more yards there. Now, it's not a big deal. This isn't a true killer, but if you're looking at this, Quinyon has the angle on this running back. You can't let him get more up towards the sideline there and gain these extra yards. I just think this is just a missed opportunity and just something that needs to be noted on the film with Quinyon. Again, running back gives him a little move there, but if he's already breaking down and getting ready to get him towards the sideline there, I don't think this move really matters, especially knowing that Quinyon has some help there on the inside. So I would just like to see Quinyon wrap up and make that tackle there. And, I'd be a lot more happy with that effort from him. But that is pretty much it here on the film breakdown of Quinyon Mitchell. I think this is a guy who's going to be a first round corner. I think he should be the second corner off the board, right behind Terrion Arnold. Get him in like the mid to late first round. I'd say anywhere from pick 15 to pick 25. If the Eagles are picking and they still have Quinyon Mitchell on the board, I think that's a spot that could be potentially a great fit for him. You play him on the inside while you have Bradbury there, things like that. And then once you can move on from that contract, he can take over and be your outside guy next to Slay for as long as you guys are going to keep him, and then really just build on something from there. I think that's a position that could potentially be a great fit for him, especially knowing that, they can play more man coverage over there as well. But yeah, I think it would be good for him to go to a team that has an identity on defense and has more talented players and things like that, where you make that transition for him rather smooth. But that's it for Quinyon this week. I believe next week I'm going to be doing a linebacker. I'm thinking right now it's going to be Peyton Wilson, my number one linebacker in this class, but that could potentially change. But stay tuned to the Wire to Wire page. I'll get the ad rolling for next week here. And I want to make sure that I give the next show the shout out it deserves here. And that's going to be my man Alex and Hack going on Up and In tomorrow night on the baseball show, where they're going to be previewing the AL East and the NL East as well. So make sure you guys tune into their show. They're going to be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central on every Sunday. Definitely wanted to plug those guys. But again, appreciate you guys for tapping in with me today. And then until next week on the next edition of Real Recognizes Real, it's been real and it's been fun. So I'll see you guys next week.